My name is Nir.
And my name is Cora.
And you're watching Anime TV. Welcome back. Another special Anime TV episode. This is the part of the show where I would try to say something that sounds somewhat clever, somewhat funny. It doesn't really stick, but sometimes it does. But instead, I want to start the show a different way. I want to officially say happy birthday to our very own Cora. She turns 58 today. It's fantastic.
I'm sorry, what?
This is what a good diet and exercise will do. Just looking great, 58 years old. I mean, you just got to make sure that you eat right, do everything that you're supposed to do. Yeah, I mean, you have a great routine. You look great for 59. It's fantastic.
Take your prayers and say your vitamins and stuff like Hulk Hogan.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think you're off by a couple years.
I mean, the best part to be able to look this good at a rounding 60 years old is to make sure that you just cut out all salt from your diet. But unlike this show, there is tons of salt everywhere. I don't know. It depends on the animes we're watching. So let's watch some anime. Normally, with anime TV, we do just that. We watch anime. We watch the cartoons that were made over in Japan that make nice stories and all sorts of pretty animations. It's great. But because it's someone's birthday, we are going slightly west or north. I mean, China's a big country. We're going to watch some Chinese animation today.
And Chinese anime is called donghua, but we will probably just refer to it as Chinese anime.
My big thing about this anime right now is I can't pronounce anything in Chinese, so I'd like to officially apologize for anything that I can guarantee you I will butcher.
We are going to do our absolute best, but because we are not, we haven't spoken in Mandarin or Chinese especially as much as we have with, Japanese, we're doing our best. Please don't add us in the comments.
I mean, if we do mess up, feel free to send your vampires or your zombies or your ghosties, anything like that, towards our way. We will do our very best to fail at vanquishing him. But that is the topic of this week's anime, which I can't pronounce. You take it away.
All right. The show that we watched this week is MoDao Zu Shi. Roughly translated, the fandom has just basically called it the Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation.
And that's what we're watching. So we're going to talk about it.
It was originally a novel written by, please let me pronounce this right, Mo Dao Zu Shi.
That was actually pretty good.
Thank goodness. I have not read the novel or series of novels yet. I want to, though, because the show is actually really good. It had a lot of nice action.
I feel like the first mispronunciation, we're already getting the hate mail. Oh, man, it's already here. So, yes, this show was a lot easier to find than I was anticipating it to be, because most of the time we just kind of go towards Funimation. So keep in mind that with all the clips you'll see in this episode, if you hear any voices at all, they will all be in Chinese, because obviously it's not dubbed.
No, that is one of the downsides, that it is not dubbed. It is only subtitled, and it's only been recently subtitled. It's all available on YouTube, though, which is what makes it easy to find. But if you're not used to Chinese...
Which did throw me off.
It does go a little bit faster, though. That was just nostalgia for me because it reminded me of when I first started watching anime and like Japanese anime.
Really had to find a way to be able to read the subtitles and see what was happening at the same time.
Right, but honestly, I got used to it after like the first 2 episodes, and I was fine.
I got used to it pretty quickly, and the fact that I was hearing Chinese, I mean, I just went into it knowing that it was Chinese, so it only threw me off for like the first 5 seconds, because I was like, all right, we're watching some anime, and nope, this is something different. Okay, but I will say that even though it was in Chinese, which has no real factor on it, the voices were great. I liked the voices. They matched relatively well. They had a different type of tone to them, so that I could still distinguish.
初到姑苏，无聊坏了吧？无聊倒不至于，就是起太早。啊，这边卯时做也还好吧？你们什么时候起的？他40做丑时息，起来了不练剑打坐。
Who was kind of talking? It was like, oh, this voice definitely matches what this character does.
Oh yeah, definitely. I want to take a quick note into like the soundtrack for this show.
Loved it.
It's like the opening itself is already like one of my top tier favorite openings ever, because like the song itself is just so pretty, and I feel like it sets the mood really well for the show.
It was very slow, but in a good way. Some of those animes, they don't really have we've talked about this before, where you'll have an opening for a show that is either too fast or too slow, and it just doesn't match the anime at all when you get to it. I know Fire Force Season 2, I think, does that, which is, I watched that intro, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I haven't watched a lot of that show. It was just that particular type of opening and style. It didn't matter what the show was. It was just so pretty looking. It sounded great. We'll say the music is really, really good. Like,
yes.
Even when like there were different types of things happening, whether it was a calm scene or an action scene, the music like actually did a really good job of getting me interested in what was happening, because like I said, a good soundtrack can make me want to watch anything.
Right, and I feel like they chose a lot of really great music for the scenes. Like all the action scenes had a lot of really great like action-packed music that was fast-paced. It matched up with like the movements of characters really well. All of the calm scenes, it was there, but they kind of like turned the volume down a little bit because it's not the main focus. So you could just like faintly hear it in the background as they're having these moments. One of the other things, and this is one of the things I like about the series, is one of your main characters, Lanzan, has and I don't know what this instrument is called, and I've tried to pronounce it and I can't. I believe it's called Queen? It's Q-U-I-O-N, I believe.
It basically is a different kind of guitar.
No, it is not.
That's the way I saw it, because there was no way I was going to try to pronounce what it really was.
It's traditionally like on your lap or on the table, and you pluck the strings. He obviously doesn't. He carries it and plays it himself, but the music that he plays can fight spirits and zombies and can also communicate with them. It's
one of those types of instruments that it doesn't matter if you actually knew what the title of the name is. If you've taken a look at any type of other culture, you could recognize it instantly.
Exactly.
It's just, I didn't know the name of it, and I was like, that's that kind of guitar thing, but it's not a guitar. Yeah.
It is a Chinese string instrument. We'll go with that because I don't know what it's called, and I'm sorry.
Oh man, there's the other hate mail that just came in. You know what?
But I liked that.
There were some interesting parts of the show. One of the things that I also really liked was the animation. The animation looked really good. Even with certain animes, you have a whole lot of, I guess you could say, you don't put a lot of detail in the background. If you have background shots, of course, it looks great. Like if someone does like a city overview or like whatever the forest is. But they'll do a lot of just kind of bland backgrounds. Didn't matter what setting this show was in, they put a lot of detail in those backgrounds, and it reminded me a lot of historic like Chinese paintings.
Yeah.
And that was something that I thought was really gorgeous, was like when they're hanging out in the temples, it was just that white stark background, and I'm like, wow, it's like just watching something happen. Like if you were to make paper dolls and just dance on the painting and your mom got mad. And I did it once, it's fine. Can't go back to that museum, but whatever.
No. 前面就是藏书口。
I will say I do have one complaint about the animation. The CGI. When the CGI happens, you can tell It's not often, but it's there.
I
Like there were two instances that really bugged me, and they're both towards the beginning of like season 1, and it was when Lan Qian like unrolls the scroll to talk about the rules of the
Yes.
Lan sect. You could tell that was CGI against all of the normal animation, and I did not like that. And then in the, I believe it's either the next episode or the one after, when they go to Kaiyi City, there's an overview of the city, and everything is CGI, and not even like detailed CGI, it's like blocky CGI for like a good portion of the shot, and then it cuts to like actual animation, and I just kind of sat there going,
see
where the animation budget did not go for this episode.
I didn't mind the CGI portions of it. Like there are moments where, yeah, like when the scroll was unrolling, I was like, that's definitely CGI, but it was like, okay, so they just saved a few bucks there, but the CGI still looks better. If we refer to like Van Dread, which we all loved, but that CGI wasn't the greatest, but it also depends on the time. It can show you that even just doing a little bit of budget cutting to make some CGI so you can do it better. That CGI I noticed, but I was like, oh, whatever. It was like 2 seconds.
Like, it bothered me, but at the same time, like, I would rather them CGI that stuff and then put all of their budget towards the really cool action and fight scenes, because those are all animated, and those all look so good.
I mean, other than that, like, if we get into the details of the show, I mean, I didn't like the show. It didn't draw me in. I've talked to you a little bit about it. I loved the main character, though. Like, the main character I thought was funny. Like, I knew when he was acting, and I was really surprised when nobody else knew he was acting, because, you know, something would happen and he's the only one there, and you're like, how did that happen? Like, yeah, he's poorly acting, but to be fair, I can't tell if it's because he's poorly acting to the audience or if he's just like that to be like that. It was funny to me.
Like, with that, like, especially with the disciples that are there at the beginning, they've never met him before, period.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't know how he's supposed to act. All they know is that he's considered a lunatic.
Oh, yeah.
Which, in apparently ancient Chinese, just means he's kind of stupid. Which, I guess we'll have to go with that because we never really get to see Mo before. But, I mean, I'll go with that, and Wei Wuxian definitely has fun with that, so...
Yeah, the way that he was acting, I thought was really hilarious, just because he would sit there and be like, don't hurt me. Oh, no, you caught my donkey. And it was the ways that he would do it. It's just like it would instantly change. And then he would have his internal monologue, which I was like, okay, he's like thinking things through. So it was really fun to see him like play with that light switch type mechanism.
Oh, yeah.
But I really liked that main character, but at the same time, there was so much happening in like the story that I just wanted to know more about, and then they just didn't do anything with it. They just threw it out the window, which made the entire plot feel kind of worthless to me. Like when he first happens, he comes in, he's summoned to either humiliate or murder or something, because, you know, the person whose body that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then they got attacked by a left arm spirit, which they didn't defeat in the first episode, which I didn't know if I really liked or didn't like. But like all of a sudden the markings went away, and I was like, okay, so does this ritual mean that once they're gone, you're gone? Okay, apparently not. Well, it just didn't make sense to me.
They explained at the beginning that once the host's wishes basically are met, that spirit gets to take the body, because Mo Jianyu Jianyu like sacrificed his soul to bring Wei Wuxian back, and he gave basically his body for him to do that. But for that ritual to be completed, he has to follow the host's wishes. Didn't exactly say, but as he saw once they were dying, it's like, the wishes are being met, and it was kind of like we're gonna go with a technicality here, because he did create the magic that took him over. But, and this is where I'm gonna start with problems I had, because as much as I love the anime, I have some complaints, and it's mostly with storytelling. So I found the manhwa, or the comic, for MoDao Zu Shi, and it's still being translated, so I haven't gotten as far as I would like, because I would like to get farther. I'm very hooked. they progressed the story better and they gave better explanations on what was happening. There's more backstory to why that left arm is terrifying, why it took over the statue, why that's a problem, and just little bit, and it's not even that much more detail. It's just little bits that make that whole scene make more sense and will make things make sense later. Not that it matters, because the entire first season is a flashback. So we don't even get to go to the actual meat of the story. So
it was just one of those things where it felt choppy in places that I didn't like. Like, you had the whole, he showed up, and then you have that family that just really didn't care for him. They're calling him a lunatic, and they're supposed to be the ones that were gone.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this kind of drama, and I'm like, I'm interested somewhat into that drama, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see where this is going to go. You know, you have the big fat guy that's like, hey, you know, you're going to die tonight. I was like, all right, cool. Let's see how that happens. Either he's going to attack him, which is going to force the other guy, or there's going to be something, or maybe he's going to end up defending him. Who knows what was going to happen? And I was really interested. And then it faded to black. And then when it came back, he was already dead. And you're just sitting there going, what happened? And I'm like, but I wanted to see that.
一网打尽，疯子，今晚你死定了！
Like,
I really wanted to like this anime because that opening scene, just that alone, well, also, I mean, not the battle, but when we first meet our main character, and he's possessed a body that hates these people so much, I am willing to kill myself so a demon can take over my body and get you. I can appreciate that kind of song.
Yeah, that's what I went into too.
Like, whoa, wow. So let's get to getting, and then it just veered off from there. And here's where I had a problem with our co-host over here, because I'm getting into, I'm like, okay, it's got some action. Love this animation. I love this music. And then it veers off into a romance, which I am not a fan of romance animes and movies. I'm just not. But then I remember my friend over here. She likes this anime because, and I'm going to say it in the 4-word acronym, Pretty Gay Anime Boys. Like, that should be the title of it, right? Like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, pretty gay anime boys.
I'm going to get you a shirt that says that.
No, we're getting her a shirt that says that. And instantly, as soon as, I think episode 2, when they're having some of the interactions, I'm like, yeah, this is a core anime right here.
So, but that was the thing, though, is I haven't hidden it. We can take it from my side, where I do like romance stories. Now, it's not, I go back and forth between different stories. Like, I like action. I like the, adventure. I do like the romance stuff. We've talked about it before. We reviewed some before. I'm not ashamed of it. It's my guilty pleasure. I like to watch those type of things. But I didn't see the romance part in this because, we've all established that we don't care which kind of romance it ends up being, because in Van Dread, we were watching all sorts of different kinds of romances, and it was done nicely.
Yeah.
And then in this one, I didn't really, I'm on like episode 4 or something like that, but I know it's supposed to be there. You told me it was gonna be there.
I did let y'all know that.
I'm trying to watch it, and I'm like, okay, well, I can see where this is kind of happening. Like, but the way that it's done, I almost couldn't have told you that it was happening, because they did that, I guess, now that you've told me that season 1's a flashback, and it's a flashback within a flashback within a flashback, where he keeps going back. I'm just thinking, I sat there going, okay, I can see a romance starting to like unfold. I guess it's there, but it's like it tried to mess with the concept and then didn't quite get there. And I can guarantee you it's because I just didn't get far enough into it to see the romance is. I know that it's supposed to be there because you've told me it's gonna be there. But
admittedly, because you only got to episode 3, right?
Finished episode 3. I had started on 4.
Okay, 4 picks back up.
Yeah.
3 is a drag.
3 is a bit of a drag, but it's also one of my favorite episodes because it sets up some of the other characters that you meet. And why are you giving me that look?
You know, the best part about this...
Because I love that you love this anime.
The best part about this look is based off of the way we film anime TV. Not a lot of people see your face, so all you see is Koro react.
Yeah, my looks are awesome. I'm sorry you guys are not blessed to see that. But it was just... This is who I'm thinking of at certain points.
Yeah, we talked about
my
that.
friend.
We were texting back and forth when we were watching this because I didn't want to text you about it because I knew that if we text you about something that we like, it wouldn't allow us to form our own opinions on something like that.
That's fair.
But one of our biggest things, we were like, "Yep, this is an anime straight for her."
Maybe not so straight. Hey.
Shut it down.
One of my favorite characters that shows up in episode 3 is Nie Huaisong. I'm sorry, I pronounced that wrong.
You're gonna have to give me colors.
I'm just gonna call him Nie for now on because I can't.
I couldn't remember any of their names.
He's the one with like the hairstyle
that you're missing,
right now, the one with the green and the fan.
Okay, there you go. That's what you had to give me.
He's such a sweet baby. And like one of his best moments was when Lanzan is staring at Wei Wuxian because he did some bad shit earlier, and he's like tracing the line of sight, and is just like, "The f*** did you do?"
The characters themselves just didn't grab onto me. It was weird because they were trying to give me more of those characters, but like I said, I can't remember names, and that's partially at fault just because it's a Chinese anime and I have no idea how to pronounce any names, so there was no attempt for me to try to learn them. But a lot of those characters, I was sitting there going, okay, well, I know who this is, but then like you had the 2 disciples that were also in white that for the longest time, I honestly couldn't tell a difference between, and then I realized that their hair...
I do not feel so bad, because this is one thing that we were discussing beforehand. I don't think there was enough differentiating between the characters.
这位公子有话好说。
And I came to appreciate like other shows we watch where they make a lot like different color hair, totally different colors, and like look at something like My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
there's no characters that you're gonna confuse for another.
There's
character.
a common trend in anime, and like if you've ever talked to like a manga artist or anything like that, you have to make one that stands out and just kind of have that accepted in the world. Like with Bobobo having the giant like yellow fro, or My Hero having every character look different. But
with some of the action sequences, especially like episode 2, where they're fighting,
or even episode 1.
Yeah, that episode 1 and 2. Yeah. I couldn't really get like, and it's fast paced, right? Yeah. But yeah, that was one thing I did have an issue with. Though I love this art. I love this art.
Yeah.
There's something that can be said for appreciating the fact that, yeah, they didn't have a whole lot that made them look different from each other other than the color clothes that they were wearing or the hairstyles that they had. But that's the way the culture is. Like, no one in Japan is walking around with giant Yu-Gi-Oh hair. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You do that to differentiate people. But in this one where we were talking about it looking like actual modern or ancient Chinese art, that's the way it's supposed to be. So I could appreciate that. I just didn't know who anyone was.
And like, admittedly, like with the Lan sect, it takes me a second to figure out who each of them is, except for like the leader of the sect because he's got the beard, because they all look very similar, and that's just part of the Lan sect, period. Everyone just looks very identical. And like when you go like later on, you get to see like the Zhang sect where Wei Wuxian is from and Zhang Cheng, and you see that even if they have, though that some of the disciples have like the same hairstyle and the same clothes, they've drawn them different because their rules are different, so they look different. You also get to meet the Wen clan, which I'm not really that big a fan of, and a lot of them look very similar too. But every single one of them has a different personality, so you can actually tell them apart, but you're only supposed to know like 3 of them. So that makes it a lot easier.
That was the thing, is a lot of the personalities felt similar, but also slightly different. It just wasn't different enough for me to identify who they were based off of the way that they looked all similar. Yeah. Which now that we keep saying it back to back sounds kind of racist, but that's not what it's meant to be. No, it's just I sit there going, and I could tell from the main character who it was because his personality is vastly different than everybody else's.
Oh yeah, he's a little shit.
Yeah,
You could just say that.
and like
Fine.
his main love interest is the stoic type, which no one else in that show really was, where I had gotten to anyway.
Yeah.
So I could easily tell. Plus, I was like, he's wearing a headband. That's who that is. But it was just the characters I wanted to like, but there wasn't enough to give me them. It's like if you just threw a bunch of characters on the ground and said, pick the ones you like. And I was just like, I know that one. Like, very rarely do I ever feel like that, because I can tell you like different characters and I can spout off a bunch of stuff. But this one was just losing me, which is part of the reason why I wasn't as drawn into it as someone like you and other fans of the show. It's just not my cup of tea, but I can also look at the show and go, I see where the fan base is coming from. I can see why this has gotten a stage play, a musical, a Netflix series.
It doesn't have a musical.
It will. Don't worry.
It has an audio, like, because I found this out while doing research. There is obviously the novels that started it. There is a stage play. There is an audio drama, though the audio drama does have a song in it. So like, there's that.
There we go. Technicalities.
There is a live action show. There's the anime. There's the manhwa. Like, this one exploded. Like, the anime got rave reviews and won awards for its stuff.
It got commercials that decided to interrupt the show.
The commercials are the best part. Okay, so everyone watching, the commercials are literally like my favorite part of the show.
好吧好吧，我不进去，我就站在这儿吃，不算破金吧？哈，你想吃就说嘛，简单一点，又不会不给你。可爱多男朋友，简单一点，可爱多了。
Because like, it's a toss up if they're gonna just slide it in or if it's gonna actually be a fade to black and then go to the commercial. But you've got like, they willingly like animated these commercials. Like, some of them is recycled animation from the show itself, from the episode, but some of it's new animation. But then you just have this photoshopped cornetto ice cream in it, and without fail, if it's the ice cream cone, Lanzan gets to eat it. I don't know why the stoic one is the only one that gets to eat the ice cream, but I find that hysterical.
It's not uncommon. The only thing that I thought was the only thing that's really uncommon about the commercials in this case, as opposed to Japan, when we actually watch anime, is they don't usually keep the commercials in the anime part that we're watching, because
they're bookended.
Yeah, so they're either at the end or at the beginning,
a break.
or somewhere in a break, which obviously doesn't count in the anime, because like in Dragon Ball Super, they have them where they had a Vegeta decides to power up so he can clean his entire house using this special type of brand of washer, and their commercials are funny to watch in other countries because our commercials are very bland.
Right, and that's honestly why I appreciated that they were there.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the commercials, but it was so off-putting at first, not in like a negative way. Just I would sit there, because even when you do a fade to black, different animes and stuff like that, you can have a fade to black the same way we would do, and you would know it goes into a commercial break. But like I said, I'm so used to watching different animes where if it's a fade to black, it's just going to come back to be the same anime anyway. And then we're sitting there and I'm like, okay, now it's faded to black. They're on the roof talking about wine. Now I'm watching the same scene. I'm like, oh, is it a recap? Nope, there's ice cream.
Okay, and on that scene, when it shifted, and Cora was explaining this to me, but I was like, wait a minute, if that's his past self, why does it look so much like...
And this is my theory on it, because like, even in the manhwa, they look very similar, but they have very specific differences in their hair. And like, I could tell the difference in like Mo's hair and Wei Wuxian's hair, because Wei's hair is like so much more curly and wild, and it's longer. But I think they did that so that we understood that this is the same character.
That's the same conclusion I came to as well. I thought it was off-putting, and I would have loved to have seen his other character, and then someone had just said that that's who that was, and then been like, oh, this is the past, which is fine. I don't mind stuff like that, but it was then off-putting because I was like, okay, I get what you're doing, but it also doesn't seem right.
Right. But I don't know. And again, that may change, and there may be some kind of other differences that we don't notice that they'll bring up or something. But again, the whole first season, and it's even titled The Past. The first season, like, it's basically how he became the Yiling patriarch and why he was villainized and killed. is I think what they're building up for this first season, which I'm actually okay with, because I've been sitting here going, okay, so you were friends with this dude that wanted to kill you in the present. What happened? What was the dots that connected that? Like, I'm more in, maybe that's just me, I'm more interested in what happened in the past. I would like to get back to the present because like I said, the comic kind of moved a little differently. And so we just had like one section in the past, and it's mostly their time in Gushu. And then after, it goes right back to where they left off. But we don't have that in the anime. We have the whole backstory. There are certain scenes, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are certain scenes that I would like to see animated that involve Lanzan, and that's it.
But I agree with you in the case of like, okay, I want to see where that kind of went, because it went from being, oh wow, he was relentless in hunting me down, and oh, this, you can't talk about this guy, he's the lunatic, or it was one of those, I was very interested to know about it, but at the same time I was just sitting there going, okay, well, I mean, I'm very confused because we were here and now we're in the past, and then it just, I can't tell if it's because we've gotten spoiled by watching other cultures, like different, watching anime or watching here in America where it's very obvious if something's a flashback, because usually in America it's always a flash to white and then like the screen's a different color. But
right. And
again, that could just be because of where we come from.
Right. And I have another theory with it. I can't confirm it because I haven't watched The Untamed yet, but I'm wondering if the first season is more so falling in line with The Untamed, because The Untamed, I think, just focused on the past. I say that just because the only clips I've ever seen from it are focused on the past and not focused on what happened in the present. I don't even know if it even opens up with the summoning of Wei Wuxian, or if it just opens with him and Gushu and just continues from there.
You can find out because it's on Netflix.
Yes.
50 episodes.
It is also surprisingly on YouTube as well, because it's the same distribution company.
Okay. I like that they did that, by the way, because I don't feel
I
don't feel so guilty.
Well, this
I
is
know, right?
It being released with English subtitles is actually something that's happened, like, I believe this year. They saw the popularity of the show overseas from people having fan translations, that they decided to
just officially do
it. And there's a whole playlist on their YouTube channel for the English subtitles.
Absolutely. And that's what made it easier for us to want to watch the show when we were kind of deciding, because when we pick our animes, we kind of alternate between who gets to pick, and then we'll do like a random one if that's the case. And when you picked this, the first question wasn't, okay, we won't do it. It was, can we easily watch it? Because if I have to go search in some weird dark web kind of backwoods area, or I have to fly to China and then get someone to, translate it for me, like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Which is why we generally use the Funimation app, just because it's there. But
right. And that's why I made sure that it was available with subtitles before I chose it. Because if we can't translate it, or if we have to go to somewhere that will literally infect our computer with viruses to watch it, we can't reliably have you guys watch it, because then that puts y'all at risk too.
Not to mention put the clips in the show. I mean, it's just a whole different thing. But I did appreciate the fact that they did do that, where it made it super easy. But at the same time, there was one time where I went to try to go watch it, and then it didn't load the subtitles at all.
They put the as a note for everyone watching, they put the subtitles in as closed captions. So they're actual translations, but they're put in there as the closed captions, so you can turn them on or off if you want to. If you'd watched an episode and then turned off the closed captions and then come back to it, you will have to turn them back on.
Yeah.
Be warned. It like takes it off default, but if you just go to YouTube and click on the video, it's on by default.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, like I said, the show itself didn't necessarily click with me. I liked the main character. I didn't necessarily get too attached to any of the other characters because they just didn't click.
这是我最后一天的赠礼，喏，送你了。
But overall, I do see the appeal for the show. Like I said, I love the animation. I love the music. The music was awesome. It was one of those things where I considered even just finding the music on its own, and I wouldn't have found that if we hadn't watched the show. So it's again, it's not a bad thing. I definitely see the appeal. I'm glad people like the show, and I'm I'm glad that you love the show. I really am. But it just didn't click with me. And it's one of those shows where maybe it would drag me, like, bring me in a little bit later. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I'm at a point where I don't know if I'll go back to watch it or if it just be like, oh, it popped up in my feed. Let me go ahead and see.
Right.
Like, I'm unsure about it. But I mean, overall, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it's so popular.
Right. And like I'd mentioned, because this one has gotten popular, they've actually been turning other like fantasy gay romance novels into anime, which I just found, like, to me as a personal thing, I thought it was funny at first because it's like, y'all so against the gay and and this one, they can easily like hide it if they wanted to, because they did with the Untamed. It does not end game with gay.
I would like to officially ask that when we finally get Wikipedia articles and pages, that one of the quotes be under Korra's name, "You all so against the gay."
They embrace it. No, there's one that will be coming out, I believe, next year. I'm gonna be interested to see if they hide it, because they're gonna have a tough time.
And it's a good thing. I feel like, especially with something like this, which is why I'm happy about it. Because like we said multiple times before, we don't really have an opinion on sexuality. You just do what makes you happy. So making those stories become a little bit more prominent to other people also shows a good direction for the world to go in, showing that just the same way we think needs to start going to where other people think. So I'm happy that this one's so popular because of, I mean, like Jason just said, it's pretty anime gay boys and
pretty boys.
It's a good thing in that case, because now we're going to start to get those other types of animes and stuff that pop up and that can come up in other cultures, and that's something that I think we definitely needed.
Yeah. What's your takeaway from it, Jason?
Like I said, there were so many things I wanted to like about this, and when it hit that first slowdown, it was hard for me to get back in. Oh, I should probably put the camera on me. There we go. That first slowdown with episode 3 and everything that I did have a problem with, it's really been a barrier to get into it. They get back into things after episode 4. And I just think there's just some fine tuning that I really would have liked this.
Yeah.
And that's the barrier I'm at right now. These little things that they keep popping up, they never get fixed.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get back into it. I do want to revisit it one day. But yeah, I had a long span of time, because you put it in our chat fairly early, where we could find it, and I went to it that day.
I did too, actually.
Yay!
And then I went up to episode 3, and then I had to take a break, come back to episode 3. It's like, this is still dragging like this. All right, fine. The wine, I get it. Okay, here's the picture. Move on. And yeah, then I think like Wednesday, I got back into to finally get to episode 4. It's like I had to really power through episode 3. So I think it picks up there, and I'm willing to give it another shot. Probably not immediately.
I think one of the things that really kind of hurt it, in our opinion, since me and you are kind of on the same page, is the episodes are longer. Most animes generally average around 22, 24 minutes, something like that. And yeah, it's only an additional 10 minutes long if you really think about it. Even less if you take out the credits and the commercial. But the fact is, it is longer. So if something's already slow paced throughout the entire show, then it can feel more slow paced and feel like the episode was longer. Because I made a comment where I said that it felt like I was watching 2 episodes per, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's one of those certain animes, you want it to feel longer because you're so engrossed into it. But at that point, it hadn't caught my interest. So having something be longer made it tougher to find time, made it tougher to watch. But it also didn't seem like it did that with every episode at the same time. But I'm standing with you, Jason, where it wasn't bad. Like, I don't hate it. Like, I've never once said that I hated it. It just didn't appeal to me. But if it ever pops back up in my feed, or if I think about it, I'd be willing to give it another shot, just the same way you are, just not right away.
I obviously very much like it. I do like the manhwa a lot more currently, but I do appreciate the anime actually giving me backstory on everyone, because I still don't, like, if I were to focus just on the comic, I don't understand why everyone is the way they are, and I'm getting that in the anime. I'm getting why certain characters are like this, and I get to see the buildup of why the Wind Clan was so bad and why they were taken down. finally, eventually. I don't like them.
蓝二公子还真不愧是佼佼君子，择世明珠，外丰慈赋，内里春宫，好学不倦，端坐如松。若是你家长辈知晓啊，哎呀，多好的一本春宫图啊，怎么说撕就撕呢？你自己收拾啊，我可不管。什么？滚！你居然叫人滚！哎呀，蓝湛，人人都说你端方雅正，最。
Well, normally I would talk about like who licensed it, and obviously we can't talk about who voiced it because there's no way we're going to get those names right, nor that we actually know. But since it's not licensed in America, I will say that I love that who it's produced by. 10-Cent Penguin Pictures. I mean, that's just a brilliant name. So you should still go support it. Like I said, all of it is on YouTube, officially subbed thanks to that company. So you can go and support it. That's what we watched.
Yes.
Next episode, we'll be watching Dr. Stone. Very excited.
Alrighty.
All right. Until next time, just keep watching some anime and we'll see you then.